Hello everyone, myself Sandeep Dagde. Welcome to my YouTube channel EMI Test Talk. Today we are going to discuss about difference between spectrum analyzer and EMI receiver. So first we will understand what is the EMI receiver. An EMI receiver is a specialized receiver designed to measure, analyze and identify electromagnetic interference or radio interference from other sources. So here we have to understand that EMI receiver is not a simple receiver like a FM receiver and different types of receiver. It is a specially designed receiver. So purpose is to analyze, identify electromagnetic interference. To analyze what are the electromagnetic interference are freely available or in a conducted path or in a radiated path, or the radio interference. Both are a high frequency. The electromagnetic interference or radio interference both are a high frequency and which we can measure by using EMI receiver. Then we discuss about what is the exact meaning of spectrum analyzer. Spectrum analyzer is an electronic test instrument that measure and display the frequency spectrum of electronic signal. So what is the important word here is a frequency spectrum. Then what typically used in the designing, testing, repairing and monitoring electronic equipment. So what is the special use of this? The special use of this: designing, testing, repairing and monitoring electromagnetic equipment. That is the basic use of the spectrum analyzer. To understand the EMI receiver, we should understand the electromagnetic compatibility, because the electromagnetic wave or electromagnetic interference or radio frequency interference are measured by the EMI receiver. So what is the EMC? Electromagnetic compatibility. EMC is the ability of different electronic devices to operate within a shared electromagnetic environment without causing interference or suffering an effect in a performance due to electrostatic discharge and electromagnetic interference. Means what? Electromagnetic compatibility. It is nothing but the ability of a different electronic device to operate within a shared electromagnetic environment. That means it is nothing but your equipment should not malfunction in any noisy area. It should operate within a shared electromagnetic environment. It should not malfunction. Then why is the EMC important? Then EMC is important because EMC standards establish requirement for the equipment to ensure reliable operation and prevent a problem that may impact safety of the equipment, the users or other electronic devices operating in the same environment. So the EMC is very important because the EMC standards establish a requirement for the equipment. So again we come to the slide of what is EMI receiver, because we have to understand the basic things in the EMI receiver, because all of we should know about the what is the exact difference between the EMI receiver and the spectrum analyzer. These are the three major things we have covered here. First one is the EMI signal detection, then second was the frequency bandwidth, third one is a signal strength. First one is a EMI signal detection. And EMI receiver detects signal noise and capture it for analysis. So here EMI receiver not only receive the signal, it will detect the noise. Then in that noise we can identify the what are the strength, what are the repeatability, what are the wattage and what are the average signals available in the environment for the particular sake of time. Because when we measure the radiated emission or conducted emissions, in that we have to perform the test for a pre-measurement and then final measurement, and in that we detect the noise in a two mode. One is a average, second one is your peak. Okay, so we have to measure peak and we have to measure the average, and then from that we are measuring quasi-peak also. So quasi-peak is nothing but a nearest the peak level of the noise, but it is the repeatability is very high, and that repeatability of the noise will very dangerous. in the EMI receiver, we can not only detect the noise, at the same time we measure the repeatability, the amplitude, the level, all the things in the EMI receiver. Then second one is a frequency bandwidth. An EMI receiver typically has a narrow frequency bandwidth of few megahertz to few gigahertz. The frequency bandwidth is almost coming from 9 kilohertz. It's available. Then depending on the frequency, what receiver you are purchase, it can be up to 1 gigahertz, it can be up to 3 gigahertz, it can be up to 16 gigahertz. So frequency bandwidth is available from 1 gigahertz to gigahertz. So that frequency, the high range of frequency, you can measure. Then what is the signal strength? EMI receiver can detect very low intensity signal which make them highly sensitive instruments. So not only the detect, it can also measure a very low intensity signal. EMI receiver is used to measure a noise in a microvolt or in a microvolt per meter. So it's very sensitive instrument that can measure very low intensity signal also. So these are not all the parameters, but these are the basic things which make a EMI receiver different from a spectrum analyzer. So this we should know the basic thing about the EMI receiver. What is the spectrum analyzer? Three things we should know about the spectrum analyzer. First one is a signal analysis. A spectrum analyzer is used to display the frequency spectrum of electronic signal. So here we can see the spectrum analyzer used to analyze the signal. Okay. So where it is coming from? It is coming from the any product. The spectrum analyzer is used to display the frequency spectrum of an electronic signal. Okay, so any electronic signal spectrum we can analyze on a spectrum analyzer. Then second one is frequency resolution. So frequency resolution is nothing but a spectrum analyzer provided very high frequency resolution for detailed analysis of signal. So this is one of the quality of the spectrum analyzer. So here we can analyze the spectrum, okay, of a signal at very high frequency resolution for detailed analysis of the signal. So you can analyze every signals in a very detailed way. So what is the repeatability, what is the level, everything you can analyze. You can analyze the high frequency also. So that is a second. And third one is a RF design and test. So a spectrum analyzer is essential for designing and testing RF circuit and equipment including antennas, filters and amplifiers. So this one is also differ from the EMI receiver. So it is nothing but it is used or it is very important instrument for designing and testing of RF circuits. So RF circuits is nothing but a radio frequency circuit, and in that the frequency is very high. To analyze all the frequency or their behavior, their changes and their spectrum, their amplitude, everything you can identify and measure. Okay, so equipment including antennas also for designing of filters and amplifiers, the spectrum analyzer is very important. So here we will understand the difference between the two. Functionality difference. So first difference in between the EMI receiver and spectrum analyzer is a functionality difference. An EMI receiver is designed specifically for detecting and analyzing electromagnetic interference signals, while spectrum analyzer is a more broadly defined instrument that can be used to analyze any type of signal. So here the important word is detecting and analyzing electromagnetic interference signals. So EMI receiver is a specialized instrument to detect and analyze what electromagnetic interference signals. Okay, so electromagnetic interference signals which are very dangerous, which can interfere to the other equipments that signals detect the EMI receiver and analyze it. But the spectrum analyzer is nothing but to analyze the any type of signals. It will not detect, it just analyze any type of signals. Then second is noise floor analysis. An EMI receiver works well for noise floor analysis, while spectrum analyzer is better suited for analyzing signal strength and frequency resolution. So first is very important part is EMI receiver works very well for what? Noise floor analysis. If you want to measure and want to do the noise floor analysis, then EMI receiver is the best instrument. But if you want to analyze the signal strength, frequency resolution, then spectrum analyzer is the best instrument. Then wide frequency range. Then we should know what is frequency range of each instrument. Spectrum analyzer can analyze wide frequency range, while EMI receiver has limited bandwidth. Okay, it's a very specialized instrument, EMI receiver, because of that the bandwidth is a very limited. So we have to understand the advantages of using EMI receivers. Okay, the first advantage is high sensitivity. EMI receiver can detect a very low intensity signal, so that they are well suited for detecting weak signals in a product or devices. So EMI receiver is very sensitive, so we can use to detect weak signals in a product and devices. Precision. EMI receiver offer precise real-time data on noise floor and interference in a device, making it easier to identify source of interference. So its precisions. The precision is also very important parameter. So EMI receiver, what it is giving us, it is giving a precise real-time data. Okay, on a noise floor and interference in a device. It's giving a real-time data for interference of the device, to making it easier to identify source of interference. Then third is very important topic is a compliance testing. EMI receiver are widely used in a compliance testing procedures to assure that a product conform to the applicable EMC standards. So these are very useful and very important advantages of using EMI receiver. A spectrum analyzer and an EMI receiver are both electronic devices that are used to measure electromagnetic signal, but they are used for a different purpose and have a different capabilities. Here are some main difference. First one is a purpose. A spectrum analyzer is used to analyze and display the frequency spectrum of the signal, while EMI receiver used to detect major electromagnetic interference produced by the device or system. Frequency range. The spectrum analyzer typically has a wider frequency range than the EMI receiver. Spectrum analyzer can measure signal across a broad range of frequencies from few hertz to several gigahertz, while EMI receiver typically focus on narrow range of frequency, usually 9 kHz and 30 MHz. Sensitivity. EMI receiver are typically more sensitive than a spectrum analyzer, as they are designed to detect a very low level of electromagnetic interference. Spectrum analyzer, on the other hand, are generally less sensitive but offer more detailed information about the frequency and power of signals. Spectrum analyzer often offer more features than EMI receiver, such as the ability to measure signal modulation, perform vector analysis, and display the spectrograms. EMI receiver, on the other hand, are designed to perform a specific measurements such as radiated emission testing. While both spectrum analyzer and EMI receiver are used to measure electromagnetic signal, they have different capabilities and are designed for a different purpose. Spectrum analyzer is used to analyze the frequency spectrum of a signal, while EMI receiver is used to detect a major electromagnetic interference. And here are some major difference. EMI receiver typically focus on narrow range of frequencies usually 9 kHz to 30 MHz. In emissions measured in the frequency range of 30 MHz to 1 GHz with the resolution bandwidth 120 kHz are displayed as a field amplitude in a dB microvolt per meter versus frequency. Spectrum analyzer on the other hand are generally less sensitive but offer more detailed information about the frequency and power of signals. EMI receiver are typically more sensitive than spectrum analyzer as they are designed to detect very low electromagnetic interference. So here we have to understand design, engineer, manufacturers and field service repair technician need a tool that will help analyze the electrical signal that are passing through or being transmitted by their system, device or equipment. These electrical signals can be measured without interference in a measurement device called spectrum analyzer. Then EMI receiver are designed to comply with the detailed equipment requirements of measurement standard of RFI such as civilian specification CISPR 16-1-1 or the military specification MIL standard 461. The EMI receiver has a defined IF bandwidth, typically 20 Hz, 9 kHz, 120 kHz and 1 MHz. Usually spectrum analyzer don't have all these and standardized detector mode peak, quasi-peak mode and average mode. We are going to discuss about the display of spectrum analyzer has frequency on horizontal axis and amplitude displayed on the vertical axis. In EMC tests are measured a spectrum as used for basic pre-compliance testing. However, it cannot be used for full EMC test and measurements for certification. Instead of an EMI receiver is used. Spectrum analyzer manufacturers should list as a minimum performance specification such as a frequency range, frequency span, residual FM, resolution bandwidth, input impedance, dynamic range, spurious response, sensitivity, shape factor, noise, sideband, display mode, example linear, log, square law and so on. Then the CISPR 16-1-1 standard gives the requirement such as a detector, type, resolution bandwidth, selectivity, harmonic suppression, input impedance, dynamic range, noise threshold and so on of voltage, current and EM field measuring device in the frequency range of 9 kHz to 80 GHz. Commercial EMI receiver fully comply with CISPR 16-1-X standard family. So conclusion and summary is EMI receiver are specialized instrument for detecting, analyzing electromagnetic interference in a product or other electronic device, and the spectrum analyzer have a broad application in the commercial and civilian spaces and are used for the variety of electronic design and testing activities. Both spectrum analyzer and EMI receiver are valuable tools for electronic design, testing, compliance, analysis. Choose the appropriate one based on your requirements, product application and budget. So thank you so much. Hope you like this video. Kindly share, subscribe my YouTube channel and share with your friends. Thank you so much.